Nscaler454 here. Welcome back to the channel. I feel like we need to do an update video, which means scenery. And that's always very exciting for me. I love doing scenery, but we got to decide what we're going to do. We've done an industrial section over here. We've done an industrial section over here. We've done a water feature, and recently some signal crossings right here. So what do we work on? Well, I'll first give you an update on this water feature. That resin really likes to attract dust. And I guess while it was still semi-soft or whatever, it kind of took some of that dust and sucked it in. It's not coming out. So that kind of sucks. It's not too bad, but it is there. If you can see those little bits and particles in there. As it dried more, I have used a brush on that, which works, semi-okay. But I find compressed air does do a better job of cleaning off that surface. I'm also pondering if I should add another layer of resin to this, which I've wondered before. The problem is I only want about 30 thou thickness of resin on there. I think anything more and I risk chewing into the details of our banks and whatnot, and I don't know if I want to risk that. So here, in fact, I actually was coming down here to add resin to this, and I was going to let it dry and work on something else, but I just can't seem to make a decision on that. So, while I stay indecisive about that, we're going to work on this section over here, which is great because this has stayed like this for, gosh, I don't know, over a year. So I'm really excited to start bringing some life into this, so that's what we're going to work on, so stay tuned. So the question is, where do we start? Well, I'm a believer of working your way back to front because you don't want to be working over your scenery that you've already completed and potentially damaging it. So we're going to start in this corner here and along this edge, and then we're slowly just going to work our way forward. I'm going to use a combination of some dirt and some sand and some rocks and gravel. And I really don't have a plan for this. I'm just going to start laying material down and see how it looks. Base layer of Elmer's glue all. Watered down brush to kind of spread that around. Start with some sandy dirt maybe. Use the always valuable fan brush to kind of spread it around. Gonna add some stones in here. Right, can't go without that. Stones over there. The fan brush is going to be what we really need here. There we go. We're starting to see something out of it. If it's too much, we'll just take a few of them out. We have our dirt and rock layer down. It only took about 15 minutes, so very easy. I'm now going to spray it with some isopropyl alcohol and then saturate it with our glue and water mixture, which is about 3 parts water, 1 part glue, and that's just Elmer's glue all. You can add a drop of dish soap to it. It'll help it soak in. But once this is all saturated in, we're going to add some of the green turf like that, because that will soak into that glue. As this dries, we're going to come back all the way to here, and we're going to work on a small water feature. Obviously, it's not going to be very deep, but I do want something in there. So we're going to line this with some sand and some rocks around in here. And I'm going to be using Woodland Scenic glue to glue it all down, because we know this doesn't react negatively with the Woodland Scenic's realistic water. little bit like that. Around the tunnel and retaining barrier, you can see there is some pink foam showing, there's some gaps, and I need to cover all that up. So I'm going to use some sand and gravel as well as this foliage from Woodland Scenics and whatever other kind of grass and turf I can use to just make it all look good. Start by lightly gluing our edges and areas. Brush that in. Obviously we're going to spill a whole bunch. Kind of expected. Okay, so foliage. We're making some progress. Things are looking good. Definitely a lot different than before. But now we're going to extend this dirt road right here. I'll probably bring it in something like that. And I'm going to use some sanded grout. I don't remember the shade of grout, but that is mixed with some dirt. And I'm also going to put that right here. And I'm going to use a piece of newspaper right on that edge just to protect our pavement right there. We have our dirt layer covering all the spots that we're going to be working on in this update. It still needs to dry a little bit more before we can move on to the next stage of our scenery. So we're going to focus our attention on this little triangle right here, which is going to be kind of like a mini junkyard, so to speak. Now, this is like a grout mixture right here, and obviously you just grout and water. Once it dries pretty hard. And even though I did not glue or put any water over here, it still managed to clog up the rails a little bit. So I think I'm going to go over this spot right here with a little bit of paint just to kind of dull that down a little bit. I did buy these Woodland Scenics privacy fences. I think that'll look cool right along this edge right here. So we'll go ahead and install those. So place this one here. Oh, I broke it. I broke it! Doesn't go, don't force it, of course. Aside from breaking this end one right here, they did install very easily. See, the box car does go by without any issue. You can see how much room I have. So I think they look pretty good, except those black lines just seem out of place. So I'm tempted to paint them. For the static grass, I'm using 2mm medium green mixed with 4mm light green. Definitely a lot more 2mm than 4mm. And I have that in my Woodland Scenic Static King, which has a slight modification with a wire that leads up to a screen mesh right here. Just gives it a little bit better of electrical charge. We'll add some of this Woodland Scenic's Briar Patch, dry brown. We'll now pour in our realistic water, which has some of that murky water tint in it. It's been about 12 hours since I poured the resin, and it's all but disappeared. So I'm going to pour another layer of it on and leave it overnight, and we'll see how it looks in the morning. It's been another 12 hours or so. You can see I've added another layer of resin, which is still drying. So I'm going to avoid this section completely and focus on details elsewhere on the layout. This update turned out to be a huge one. We got a lot done in this video, and I think things are looking great. I like how this back edge turned out with the rocks and the sand. The colors match that rock wall in the back. I like that. I like the bit of greens we have in there. We have some sticks here and there. I think that adds to the detail. For the first time on my layout, I've installed the electric switch stands. Also, the 6x6 shed. Those are available on nscaler454.com. Same as the manual switch stands. I like this little scene right here with the briar patch and the rocks and this little fallen log. Kind of seems like a fallen tree. The mountain scene is really starting to take shape. I like it, but there's quite a bit more to do. But this water scene right here still needs to dry, and it might be a couple of days before I can even come back to that, so that will have to wait. I do really like this little junkyard storage area. The little details definitely are what make it stand out. These rail ties right here are ones that I 3D printed and painted, and I just glued them together in some random piles, and I think they look awesome. I like all the little tires and stuff, so I think that makes things look great. I never glued anything down because I want the ability to move things around and change it up if need be, which I probably will. The loading dock details are a Scenic Accents pack from Woodland Scenics, and I gotta say, the quality isn't all that great. They definitely could use a little bit more detail or a little bit more sharpness in the detail, but from a distance they look pretty good and they definitely do the part. Now, even though we got a lot done in this video, there is still a lot to do. We already talked about this area right here, but this whole section still looks quite barren to me, so we need to add to it. And I already have some ideas, so if you want to see that, be sure to subscribe. If you like this video, hit the like button. And as always, thanks for watching.